Boris Johnson has had an extraordinary first week in office. The UK's new Foreign Secretary had hardly finished a tour of his King Charles Street office before he was forced to deal with the attempted coup in Turkey. He has hosted 2 conferences in London on the conflicts in Syria and Yemen. He has toured the diplomatic capitals of Brussels, Washington, and New York, shaking hands with a flurry of fellow foreign ministers whose names he will now struggle to recall. He has spoken and voted in the United Nations Security Council. He has been savaged by U.S. journalists before the world's cameras, accused of being a liar who had insulted a woman who might just be the next president. Prime Minister Theresa May was forced to defend his appointment both on the floor of the House of Commons and at a press conference with Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel. On the day of the Republican convention, he was asked by one TV journalist if he was Britain's Donald Trump, a question that was as tonsorial as it was political. A soft landing it wasn't. Rock star status. When his appointment was announced, some in the Foreign Office were horrified. One official who was asked for his reaction by a reporter at the Financial Times replied, "Just imagine being told that Piers Morgan had been made the editor of the FT." But having spent a few days following Mr. Johnson around Washington and New York, I can report that some diplomats are reassessing their view of their new boss. They have woken up to the fact that Mr. Johnson attracts attention, both from the media and other politicians. They have a minister who has what one called rock star status. They note the contrast between the Foreign Secretary and his predecessor, Philip Hammond. One source told me Mr. Johnson was a risk-taking James Hunt to Mr. Hammond's more cautious Niki Lauda. Mr. Hammond was known for his mastery of the detail, something that the Americans valued, particularly in their talks over the Iranian nuclear deal. But Mr. Hammond was not flamboyant, nor was he hugely visible. That cannot be said of his successor. Boris Johnson meets with United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon.